Привет, Sensible. I'm Russian and I tell my tales from the Russian point of view because we also want to be heard. And today, we're doing something different. And that is, we are playing a visual novel that I translated. And yes, I know that it's different from what I usually post on my channel, but hey, it is still a Russian video game. And besides, what's the fun of having a YouTube channel if you can't even show things that you're proud of? So, let us begin. This nature of ours, mangled and corrupt, turned evil. Yet all we did was hide, creeping into the darkest corners of the earth. We hid, not out of shame, but out of fear of being exposed. And the fear was to lay on the pyre that we ourselves erected, but not for us to lay on. Our bloodline, our withered memories of it. We are bound to lose it, like an evil man is bound to lose his head when the universe itself raises its time-sharpened axe over his neck.
Well, I don't even know what to tell you. She was such a lovely girl. So kind, so full of light. She'd always bring me flowers from the woodside, and I remember feeling such a pity for her.
I looked at her, puzzled.
She was stubborn, kept tormenting her legs for no reason. We have servants to carry the flowers, but she'd still insist on going.
Why so?
She spent her childhood in the forest. Back when I was younger, we'd go there to catch fireflies and to pick berries and mushrooms. And when she reached adolescence, she began going there alone. My legs are not what they used to be.
Mrs. Sabo, would you say that Evie was maybe worried about something lately? Perhaps she wanted to spend some time alone?
Why, of course not. My little girl was very sociable and liked spending time with her old thing. She just loved being around people, and she always knew what to say. And if she didn't, then she'd listen without interrupting. Oh, Lord, she was so beautiful, so young.
Small tears began forming in the corners of the old woman's eyes, and her voice cracked.
You said her name and her face just appeared before my eyes.
I'm sorry for your loss, Mrs. Sabo. I should probably go.
You should know, Inspector.
She wiped the tears with her wrinkled hand and continued, pain still showing in her voice.
Whether actually true or not, but I do believe there was no greater light than that which lived inside her dearest Evie. She was everything for a little town, and now that she's gone, oh,
Have a great day, Mrs. Sabo. I'll go down from the table and head to the front door. Well, this one won't be easy. David Gates, Yune County, Pineford, August 29th, 7503. Prologue. This happened on a chill morning at the dawn of the summer. The sun was still shining, but the weather was no longer warm enough to be truly called summer. Autumn was slowly creeping in. It's moments like this that make you think of nature and the way it likes to take its place ahead of time. That's why it always rushes the coming of cold. Nature was awakening. It was time for living creatures to begin their day. Grass, bugs, birds, they all equally shared the same rules, though once in a while they'd invade each other's domain. But there was something else in the forest. Something stagnant and primeval, something that made the pines look petrified and unmoved in their desire to get deep to earth. The roots burrowed deep into the soil, up to the sky. The vast canopy pierced the clouds. The trunks of the trees stood erect across the small road. The entire forest looked down on it for many years, so many that the change of human generations seemed nothing more than just a tiny moment in the endless cycle of the forest dreams. Civilization has long forgotten about this place, just like that. And the forest would have continued to sing its song of silence had it not been for just one odd element. It was foreign, completely alien to the place, and it was using the road for its rightful purpose. The intruder came in the form of a three-wheeled onyx coach. It was drawn by a horse covered with a dark blanket. Things like that didn't frequent these places, and the little speck bouncing in the bumps of the sandy road was disturbing the deep slumber of the pines. The copper giants were filled with anger, great enough to make them move. They whispered, they whistled, they watched, bewildered. The forest wondered what made anyone rush anywhere. The black coach with its noisy wooden wheels could mean but one thing. Something bad happened. Pineford, the town I'm headed to, sits somewhere at the edge of these woods. The coach has already left the forest behind, and yet there's still not a living soul in sight. And that's despite us almost reaching our destination, which lies about 100 leagues to the west from the capital. Day by day, this journey is getting more and more wearisome. I don't know how much longer I can take it. No one told me I'd have to spend days traveling through the desolate forests and fields. I'd give anything to see the outlines of the city, to spend the night sleeping, not worrying about the early wake-up. That darn murder. And of course I have to be the one sent to this Lord-forgotten place. I'd give everything for a warm bed and a hot breakfast right now. No one clearly wants to visit this town, since there hasn't been a single coach in ages. Or maybe locals just don't like the outsiders. The road was getting narrower and narrower and the gaps between the trees kept growing bigger and bigger. Patches of meadow covered with shrubs began appearing in the side view, and finally the forest gave up its reins to the field overgrown with wild grass. "Sir," the voice came from the other side of the coach. "We're almost in Pineford, sir. This won't take long." Finally, the town skyline began to take its shape at last. The bright light of the summer sun outlined the silhouettes of the marble-covered houses, growing up 2 and sometimes even 3 stories high. There were so many of them, and they crowded so close to each other that even a child would have a problem crawling through the dents between them. The halls of the streets seemed empty, with only a few human shadows disturbing their pristine silence, and some of the shadows took notice of the coach, slowing their pace to take a better look. Well, now I have to figure out where should I go next. I hate this part of my work. Trying to find anything in the new city makes me look like an idiot. Though this town is rather small, especially compared to the capital. Hey, what was your name? "'Tis Darwin, sir." "Can you take me to the Inspector Corps?" "There's no such thing in here, sir." "What do you mean?" "Exactly that, sir." "I thought you said you were local." "'Tis right, sir." "Then who maintains the order in the town?" "The town's authorities do, sir." "No, you don't understand. I'm talking about..." Just as I was about to finish the sentence, the coach suddenly stopped. "Hey, careful out there! You're not driving a sack of potatoes, you know." "Apologies, Inspector Gates. There's a dame on the road." "What dame?" "Only Lord knows. Jumped out of nowhere. I tell you, nowhere. Hey, you! Yeah, you! Watch where you go. Can't you see?" "Oh, holy heavens, Madam O'Brien. This devil who spoke with my tongue 1,000,000 times sorry." "I should probably take a look at what's going on." A young girl, wearing a beautiful white gown, was sitting right at the horse's feet. Her face was angel-like pale, with pretty little eyes popping out of her head. "Are you all right?" The pale little face moved to the sound of my voice, yet her gaze still seemed empty. "Let me help you get up." "Oh, you don't seem to be from here. Your suit is not tailored to the local style." She almost got run over, and yet all she can talk about is my clothes. I guess she must be in deep shock. "Are you hurt? You should probably sit down." I carefully took her left hand. There was a small sore on her forearm. "You seem to have been injured." "Do you hear me?" I leaned as close to her ear as possible. "You need to see a doctor." At this very moment, an invisible wall between us came crashing down, and the girl returned to her senses, quickly blurting, "What? No, I can't go to the doctor. He's busy solving a murder." "Well, isn't that interesting? Could it be my case he is solving? You see, I'm here for the exact same reason." Upon hearing my words, the girl finally unfroze, and a flicker of light appeared in her cold eyes. "What? Are you a Lazarus? And where do you need to go?" "I'm not a Lazarus. I'm an inspector." What's the difference?" "In small cities such as the one I'm from, there are no such things as Lazarus. Lazarus are responsible for maintaining order in small towns and villages. On the other hand, inspectors like myself solve serious crimes across the entire county." "I see." Her eyes turned cold again. "So, what did you say you needed to get?" "I see, so I should have asked for the Lazarus corpse. I've lost enough time for today. It took me way too long to get through these woods. Besides, I'm sure she can get medical help in the corpse." On the other hand, I really shouldn't leave the girl without getting her to the doctor first. Besides, this doctor seems to be involved in solving my case. He could probably tell me something useful. Where should I go? So in this video we are going to go to the Lazarus course, because if we go to the doctor there's going to be a lot more characters and a lot more secrets. But it is still a game that I've worked on, so if you want to find out more, please go to Steam and download the free demo. After all, it is free. And now, let's go to the Lazarus course. I need to go to the Inspector course right now. The girls gazed and more curious.
We have nothing of the sort.
So it seems that this town is not that big after all, and the coachman really didn't know what I was talking about.
We have Lazarus. Maybe they could help you.
Well, if there's really no Inspector course, then I guess I'd head to them. You should probably go with me. If your doctor's busy today, then you could probably get some medical help from the Lazarus. The girl looked at me with a burning gaze.
Want to tell me more about yourself?
Of course. But first I need to take my things from the coach. I got back to the carriage, took my coat and put on my felt hat before grabbing the suitcase and jumping off the stairs. I took a coin out of my pocket, which immediately went flying right into the hands of my coachman. Thanks for the ride, darling. He nodded and headed down the road. People slowly began filling the streets. The town began awakening. I felt myself like a local dandy, strolling the streets with a nameless girl wrapped around my arm.
Pardon my manners. I haven't gotten around to asking your name yet.
Oh, don't be so harsh on yourself. You've almost got run over by my horses.
That is true, but still.
She let go of my arm and stepped a few paces away.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Emily from the House of O'Brien.
She curtsied slightly. No need for such formalities, dear Emily. Name's David Gates. I'm from the Arcs Division of the Inspector Corps.
Pleased to meet you.
You said the House of O'Brien?
That is right.
I've heard your family rules Pineford.
Oh, no, that's not. Well, among others, Pineford is ruled by 3 houses. The House of Roots, the House of Grace, and our family, the House of O'Brien, are things very different in the capital.
Oh, yes, it is.
Do tell me more about the capital, Inspector. Is it true that you have carriages that require no horses?
The world around indeed changes very quickly. I've never seen so many machines and mechanisms before, and it stuns and scares me at the same time.
Oh, but we have trains. Speaking of which, why didn't you take the train?
If I'm not mistaken, there are no tracks between Pineford and Arc yet. Though where else could people go from here?
To the Cypress.
What's that?
It's an estate not from here. The members of our houses frequent the place regularly. As a matter of fact, my mother, Helena, is staying there right now.
Emily mentioned the murder of Eva Roots. Maybe she knows something. You've mentioned the murder. You were talking about Eva Roots, right? Emily, who just a second ago was full of dreams about the capital, quickly changed her demeanor. Her gaze turned cold as ice, and her excited smile dimmed swiftly.
I was.
Do you know anything about it? The look in her face made it clear that she didn't want to talk about the murder. This must be a big loss for her. Well, there is no need to torture her any further. I can always talk to her later. Ask Emily about the local Lazarus. Tell me about your Lazarus. I'd like to avoid the usual conflict with them.
What? Why would there be any conflict?
Well, apparently they don't like when a pompous show-off who knows nothing about local customs come to their town and start snooping around.
But I'm sure you're not like that.
It's just a series of cultural clashes, that's it.
Oh, rest assured, Inspector, you won't face any troubles without Lazarus. He's a very good person.
Do you know him personally? She turned her eyes away.
Yes. Here we are.
Emily and I found ourselves standing before the Lazarus corpse. The building looked impressive for a small town. If I didn't know where I was, I'd easily mistaken it for the capital's head office. I knocked, and a few seconds later, a young man who looked to be about 20 opened the door.
Emmy!
Mr. Watson.
Lazarus shifted his eyes to look at me.
You must be Inspector from Ag.
That would be me.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name's Harry Watson, head ladderer of Pineford.
David Gates, nice to meet you.
How was you right here? No accidents, I hope?
My gaze instinctively shifted to Emily. Almost. Harry looked in the same direction.
Lord, Emily, are you hurt? What happened?
Nothing serious. I fell in the road.
You need to see Horace, right now.
I'm afraid Mr. Grace doesn't have the right disposition today.
Well, in that case, come on in. I may not be as good as Chrysalid, but even I can help sometimes.
Thank you for helping me yet again.
You too, Inspector. Come on in.
We entered the building. Crossing the deserted hall, we walked into a small office room. There was no one inside but us. Where are the others?
I beg your pardon?
The secretaries, the assistants, or the Lazarus at the very least. Harry smiled.
Pineford is a small town. We don't have a budget for a large staff.
So you work alone?
Not since your arrival.
Harry gave me a warm smile.
Though sometimes Mr. Grace helps me as well.
How exactly?
Well, sometimes, just like today, several people need my assistance at the same time. Horace, as a very knowledgeable person, let's call it this way, helps me with this issue.
Harry took out a small box from somewhere underneath his table and began working on Emily's arm.
So, Inspector.
Call me David.
David, I think it would be better if we talked in a more private setting.
Don't worry. I'll be leaving you soon.
No need to. I was about to visit Ruth's estate.
Is it about Livy's case?
Exactly. I suppose you must be tired. You should probably get some rest.
Up until he mentioned those words, I didn't even realize how incredibly tired I was. I was literally falling asleep. Yeah, I guess you are right.
We can meet tomorrow morning here at the corpse.
Deal.
You can stay at Holy Maiden. It's not far from here. You go down the street, it's just a few blocks away.
Thanks. In this case, see you in the morning.
See you!
Good luck, Mr. Inspector.
Good luck to you too, Miss O'Brien.
You can call me Emmy.
Get better soon. I followed Harry's directions. Soon I found the right street. The place had a sign, Holy Maiden. The place was empty except for a man standing at the counter. Welcome to Holy Maiden, Inspector Gates. Do you know me? The rumors about your arrival travel fast. My name's Barrow. I'm the owner of this place. How can I help you? I need a room. Temporarily, until I find a place to live. Do you have any? Oh, Inspector, you see, People rarely stay for the night here. They mostly come for a drink. I slipped my hand into my pocket and shook the wallet filled with coins. But sure thing, we'll find a room for you. Unfortunately, there's only one left, in the attic. As long as it has a bed and a door that can be locked. Sure. Well, it's not that I have many options here. That'll be 2 copper. Same rate for each following night. I placed 14 coins on the counter. That should be enough for a week. How long do you plan on staying in Pineford? I don't know yet. Time will show. The man swept the coins away and gave me a copper key before showing me the staircase. Right this way. Room number 7, 3rd floor. Feel yourself at home, Inspector Gates. Thank you. Oh, almost forgot, Inspector. Huh? Here, found this under my door a few hours ago. What's that? Mara gave me a packet wrapped in a cotton cloth. It had a note saying, "To David Gates." No idea what's this, but it's clearly meant for you. Who's it from? Whoever it might be, he clearly knew I'd be here today. Thank you. Mara nodded. I walked up the stairs and unlocked the door, entering my new room. It was filled with the smell of wood, old paper, and herbs. The rays of summer sun lazily spilled through the glass, coating the air around it, reaching as far as the bed frame. The room itself was rather small, so it was as light as the outside world. It'll do. I don't really need much. There was a stack of books lying under a windowsill, and a curious plant placed under a lamp that didn't stop shining even during the day. The herbal aroma coming from the sole plant in the room dictated the tonality to the rest of the smells. It's almost as if they all adjusted themselves to the ensemble of aridity and summer serenity. As soon as I walked in, the plant, almost as if noting the change in the scenery, turned in my direction and began investigating me. But apparently it didn't find anything interesting in my exhausted character, so it lowered its head as if disappointed. My legs, worn out from the days of being bent in an uncomfortable position, refused to hold me any longer. I was pulled down to the bed. I'm so tired. I want to sleep so much. But first, I need to see what's inside the packet. I took the mysterious packet and opened it. A tiny piece of paper with a few words written on it fell on the bed. So, for the inspector. I don't think there are other inspectors in the town. But what is Tsero? Is this thing inside? The person who sent it knew my name. Who could it be? I studied the thing I found in the packet. It looked like a well-edged stone with iron inclusions. It was heavier than it seemed. An open eye of silver was encrusted in the very center with a ring of symbols from an unknown language encircling the image. Is this stone? What is this thing? All right, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Now I need some rest. I swear I could sleep through the entire day. My mind was surprisingly empty, even though normally it burst with the thoughts about the new cases. It's almost like my mind suddenly became incredibly disciplined, and yet, striving for the chaos, it let itself float into the dream state. The fractured memories of my trip through the woods resurfaced in my head. The giant pines surrounding the road, the primeval stillness, There was something familiar about this woods. Something was drawing me in. I didn't even think about the beauty of that forest, about its majesty. What? Where am I? It was a red field, blood red, as far as the eye could see. The forest, the sky, the grass, and something incomprehensible, something that stretched to the skies, losing its trace among the clouds. This place, it looked so creepy and so familiar. This something looked like a gargantuan, eerily repulsive monument. Are humans even capable of building something like this? Or is it just a figment of my imagination? The monument was built out of materials that I couldn't recognize.
The only thing that looked remotely similar to all those plains, stones, and castellations were parts of human body, skin, bones, flesh. Just as the thought occurred in my mind, the fear enveloped my body. Panic, hard to breathe. The air felt seamed with iron. Panic, my breathing quickens. Every new intake of air burst into my lung with a venomous agony. The oxygen burns from the inside. Calm down, calm down. I need to calm down. It's probably just a dream. Though normally people don't realize they are dreaming when they sleep. All right, I definitely shouldn't just stand here, taking a good look at the thing I suddenly felt, as if someone or something was calling for me, but at the same time, equally strongly demanded I go away, as if it was being pulled and pushed, all at the same time. Inside it was something. It was calling for me and begging for me not to enter. I took a look around once more. I didn't realize it upon leaving my coach, but there was something in the distance that looked like a house. It blended with the red sky almost perfectly, and yet not well enough that I couldn't make out its vague silhouette. Where should I go next? I decided to go to the strange tower. I came closer to the construction, and only then I noticed that it had an entrance. I stepped into the nothingness. I couldn't see a thing. Not the scarlet glow coming from the jewel in its arm. Not even the entrance I came in through was slowly moving forward, enveloped in a complete darkness. Though at this moment I wasn't even sure that forward was the correct word, for I've long lost any sense of direction. Any attempt at orienting myself were forsaken. How long have I been walking? I tripped over something. I stepped a few feet to the left, and a crazy thought suddenly crossed my mind, that the walls of this corridor were no longer there. I stopped my movement and spread out my arms. I circled around, but I couldn't find anything to lean on. I have absolutely no idea where to go. I can't just stay here. Suddenly, completely out of nowhere, bright light appeared in the distance. I was standing in the middle of a place I'd never seen before. A platform in the middle of an endless ocean. The sounds of a man weeping. I turned around. The entrance I came through was gone. Its place was taken by a man sitting on the water surface. I wanted to come closer, but my body turned to stone, robbing me of this ability. I've never heard a cry so piercing and so chilling. I wanted to say something, but my tongue, just as rigid as my legs, refused to obey me. All of a sudden, the stranger began mumbling. I couldn't make out his words.
Leave this place. I'm sorry, but I have to go. Something was telling me I couldn't stay any longer. Just close your eyes. I didn't even realize the moment I followed the voice's command.
I think it might be just a dream. Damn, I did sleep the whole day. I think it's morning already. Lazarus did say he'd be waiting for me in the corpse, so I should go. But first, I need to get dressed.
David Gates, Yoon County, Pineford, August 29th, 7503, Act 1. I finished my morning routine, put on my trusty coat and hat, and headed to the meeting place. Just as we agreed, I found the Lazarus waiting for me on the doorstep.
Inspector!
Lazarus?
Please, come in. How did you find the maiden?
Quite livable.
But it's definitely better than spending the night at a coach-in's, don't you think?
That is true.
Did the old man bear offer you a taste of his funky liquor?
No, I don't think so.
Ooh, that's getting old, I guess.
All I need is a place to sleep. Everything else is a luxury. Sleep. Sleep. You know, I had a very strange dream.
A dream?
I told him everything I saw last night. About the red field, the gargantuan tower, the weeping man. Harry stared at me as if I were a lunatic.
You know, I'll be honest. This whole thing sounds really creepy.
I guess so. Though, you know what? I was probably just tired.
Yeah, it was a long way from work. You know, if you ask me, all those dreams and visions are nothing more than just our brains playing tricks on us. Doesn't stop some people from trying to explain it with supernatural powers, however. A divine intervention, if you please. There are still people in Pineford who religiously believe all of that, but they're all fanatics, each and every one of them. Nothing good ever comes from them.
Where's this animosity coming from?
How can I explain? I find this tendency destructive.
Do you really?
For example, these people believe that they can cure a child's pneumonia by chanting a few old prayers. As you can imagine, such a cure rarely works and children simply die. But in the rare and, frankly, miraculous case when a child survives, they call it the sign from the above.
It does sound destructive.
Exactly. Only the abyss yearns for us to make a step. Well, have a seat. Let me tell you all about our case.
I got as comfortable as the chair allowed me to, and prepared to listen.
So, as you already know, on August 27th, there was a murder here in Pineford. The victim was a young aristocrat named Evie Roots. Her body was found in the cemetery at around 7 o'clock by the local gravedigger, Mort.
In the cemetery.
That's right.
So we have a witness. Well, that's a good start.
About that.
What is the matter?
What is not the most ordinary.
What do you mean?
You'd better see for yourself.
All right then. Oh, how did Evie die?
We found a stabbing wound in the chest area. It's presumed to be the cause of death, I understand.
One fatal blow, am I right?
Right!
Did the victim have any personal belongings on her? Anything?
Just a small cord.
A cord?
Yeah, I couldn't understand it either, but I had 2 days to think about it. I came to the conclusion that it must have been part of a locket.
And where is this locket?
I didn't find it.
So, tell me about the victim, about her and her family.
Evie Roots was 24 at the moment of death, born in the family of Anna and Howard Roots. He is one of the town's leaders.
What was she like?
Light-hearted, maybe a bit too much.
Did you know her personally?
I saw her a couple of times, but I wouldn't say I knew her.
Do you know anyone, aside from family and friends, of course, she was close with?
Emily O'Brien. She was her childhood best friend.
That lost-looking girl I brought here yesterday. Did she have any troubles with anyone?
If you're trying to ask whether she had any enemies, then the answer is no. Evie, you see, everyone liked her.
You can't be loved by everyone. You're bound to have a conflict with someone.
Not when it comes to Evie. She had the ability to charm every person around her. A few minutes was enough to fall in love. Figuratively speaking, of course. There was something about her. Something unearthly, maybe.
I thought you didn't believe in supernatural, Lazarus.
Well, I'm willing to admit that her big heart was the only thing in the world that could not be explained rationally.
All right, so what happened to the body after the murder?
In the morning, right after I received the news about what happened, I headed to the crime scene, I investigated the scene, and I talked to Mort.
Mort? the gravedigger, right? What did he say?
I'm telling you, Inspector, you'll have to talk to him yourself.
All right. And what about the crime scene? Any footprints?
2 pairs leading to the town. As you can imagine, they could only be traced to the road.
Right.
I can show you if you want.
No need to. It's been 2 days. There is not much left.
After the initial examination, we moved Evie's body to the Obscura. It was the night of 27th.
Who are we, and why at night?
Horace, Maud, and I. The dead ones don't need company, Inspector. As I said, everyone in the town loved Evie. Many took her death a lot harder than you might imagine. Some don't even believe she died. They think Evie just left. That's why they don't need yet another reminder of Evie's death. Who knows what it'll do to them? Something like that. Any thoughts?
Well, that was the end of our demo. I hope you liked it enough to download it from Steam and maybe even put up part 1 in a wishlist. And also don't worry, I was playing the non-final version of the game, so any issues that you might have seen are not in the game. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed my very non-professional acting, and see you next time. Baka baka.